Okay, that's very third person, but that's okay with me. Um, I want to welcome everybody and say thank you for joining me. We can spend time answering questions and then doing follow-up questions. And Gretchen laid out a beautiful questions and answers and how to do a introduction. So I want to make sure to honor that because she put a lot of work into it. So I want to make sure to do that. Okay, so whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, we extend a warm welcome to photographers from various backgrounds and levels of experience, recognizing the unique challenges of running a photography business. We are committed to providing a supportive environment where members can share knowledge, exchange ideas, and support one another. Oh, aren't we just so official? I'm so proud of us. Okay. I told her I felt a little bit like Howard Stern, and she's my Robin just right there. We don't have any fart noises or any of that kind of stuff, but for sure next time that's going to happen. Okay. She said something about now thank our sponsor. And I'm like, oh, thanks, Mom, for being my sponsor. But really, that's not even true. If anything, it's HEB brand peach iced tea because this is what's keeping me going today. All right, so I wanted to say hey to Hannah in particular. Hannah, are you going to show yourself? Is anybody going to show themselves? What are they doing? Do I have to just do this without anybody else?
They can do whatever they want.
Okay, you do you. Okay, I loved some of the questions that you had. Yay, there she is, yay. I thought your questions were so great that I really wanted to answer them because it really opens up a door to these types of corporate headshots that are done on location or at your studio. And the difference is between just, we separate them out into individuals. So this is, I'm an individual, I'm taking pictures for myself, of myself, and I'm paying for them for myself. That's an individual client. A company client or a business client is somebody else is paying for me to have my picture taken. I didn't raise my hand for this. I don't particularly want to do this. I'm going to hate doing this. And especially because I have no control over it. I have to wear what I'm told to wear and the background has to be. But believe it or not, these are great clients to have because if you can take that opportunity and turn them around, then you've got a client for life. Also, because we didn't have to do any marketing to get this client, we can start fresh with them and then know exactly where to take them. So one of the questions was which marketing strategies do you use? Any paid marketing? And let me say this about what I have done with paid marketing and organic marketing over the years. I started doing Google in 2006. So I'm what's known as Google Gold. So my organic is really high, but I do work with a marketing agency where if there's something in particular that we're trying to promote, like typically my organic's high, my paid is low. And then if there's something in particular, then my paid gets even higher, but I guess my organic doesn't really go down, but I rely more on paid versus the organic to get the kind of people who are the people that book this type of session. So I'm going to call her Lisa in marketing. So her job is you've got to get 3 bids, either because that's just what the boss told them to do, or because they needed to regulation wise in their business. You have to get so many bids. And Lisa, the great part about Lisa is it's not her money. So it's okay. You can tell her how much it's going to be because it's not her money. However, she's also not in charge of making that decision. And therefore it makes it a little bit more challenging to try to get all the value built up so that Lisa becomes your cheerleader. So over the years, one of the ways we stay in contact with them is through, we have a database, obviously, so we do that. But also if they are at one particular place, what I used to do was I would go and take them when I took them, or a photographer would, a cup that had our logo on it that was filled with chocolate and candy and anything that was appropriate for the season, plus a second one. And I told them, this one is for you so that you always know how to find us, and then leave one behind in case you go to a new job and the next Lisa in marketing, although I don't call her Lisa in marketing to her face, will know how to find us. And I have found this to be really important because sometimes I've gotten calls from people, hello, Cameron, from people saying that they didn't know who they were supposed to call. They knew that they had pictures taken, but they didn't remember who it was supposed to be. The person was gone. So what we did for this year was we started creating these little gold cards, and it was kind of based on the idea that Megan sends out those 10,000 advertisements, no, invitations is the word I'm trying to use, for her events. And I'm like, oh, that's a nice touch. Also, it makes it easier for somebody to keep it in a place rather than it being a cup. And it's easy for them to take it with them rather than, oh, I'm trying to take stuff from work. Maybe they didn't pack that up when they were, going on to their next adventure. Okay, so I don't even have a copy of those cards because we have an online business manager, VA, who's in Pennsylvania. So they were sent directly to her for her to then write them out and send them to everybody because we did hand address them. So while I don't have a copy of that, I definitely think that Gretchen will make sure that I can send you the artwork and where we ordered them. Yay. Okay. Let's talk about the Zapier filling in the spreadsheet in a little bit, because that is actually very complicated and maybe something that would work more as a one-on-one or something that we create as a resource. But the reason why it's important is because what Lisa in marketing pain points are is that she's going to have to schedule all of these people to come get a headshot that they don't want to take during their work time. And the having it where she doesn't have to do it on her end with a what is that called, a doodle or a skedoodle or a skedaddle, or wherever they have people tell them what times they want, whatever that is, noodle, doodle, a doodle, whatever. Okay. So trying to get all these people wrangled together is hard. So I pieced together the good part of Acuity, which is what we use for online scheduling. And then I have it use a Zap to create a spreadsheet in Google Docs or sheets. And it allows Lisa in marketing not to have to be bombarded with everybody's responses of, I signed up for this time, I signed up for that time, and having to put it together herself. In real time, it will populate that sheet. The next building block on that I'm looking forward to is it did not previously take care of reschedules or cancellations. So then you'd have to go do those manually. But the programmer said, yeah, we can do that. That's not a problem. So at some point in time, we can definitely create this is how to, this is a why, here's the Zap for it, and then how to use it. But this is a big selling point when I'm selling a contract of, this is game changer for you, Lisa, in marketing. You are going to love this. This is going to make your job so easy, and you're going to look like a hero and prepare for high fives and pats on the back, because all the pain of people being in charge of picture day, we take care of. So while I'm not showing it to you, I hope that that answers your question as to why and how we use it. Okay. And then how do you price group composites, and what is the percentage of work your studio does based on the type of shoot, prepay versus one-off headshots versus branding? Okay. In my business, if we consider that there's either self-pay or company pay, or on location or at the studio. So there's really kind of 4 quadrants of people who come here. The corporate accounts either start out as an on-site where they did 15, 20, 30, 50, 80 people, however many they did. And then they send the new hires to the studio so that we don't have to go back again for onesies and twosies. Or it works great for people who never want everybody in one place. They just send them as is. So for example, doctors are often very, very hard to wrangle, especially if you're trying to get them all in one day. If they can come at their own discretion, then I never actually did an on-site with them. They just became corporate accounts. And the corporate accounts are $295, and that is based against a $400 rack rate, what the general population would get. But we do it to build the value of, here's how much it would be if you sent them individually, but because you have 5 or more, and that you have to have the discount, you don't get the discounted rate until you have 5 or more, and you always get the best discounted rate. Now, it started out at $99. It's now $295. So our corporate accounts always get the best corporate rate, but that rate's going to change. So don't feel like you have to stick within, you need a discounted rate because that's what they're looking for. to do the kind of volume. So, you can have high volume and high, it will be good, but it's not going to be cheap. You're like the good, fast, and cheap, pick two. You know what I'm trying to say there? Okay. So if you do it where you say, oh, it's $290 per person and it's so much per makeup, and they're going to get 2 images, you will never, ever, ever do volume. You might be able to luck out and sometimes get maybe a company that values that, and maybe they might do up to 10 people. But in general, the people who are literally just responsible for getting people's headshots on a signature, on LinkedIn, on presentations, there's about 8 different places that people usually use somebody's headshot. So either Lisa in marketing or even human resources. Lisa in human resources might also be another person who has to do this. But if you can take that pain away from them, they're excited. But no matter how much pain you take away from them, there's only so much value that anybody places on the photography at scale, at volume. So with that in mind, we have the studios divided into a back room, which is where we do the $300 headshots, is what we call it. And then we have a front room, and that's the $3,000 headshots, or at least we hope it's going to be. So dollar-wise, we end up about the same. So the amount of volume that we do for corporates and on-sites is about half of my revenue, versus we do fewer people in the studio, but we have the higher revenue. So that's where I like having both. So in the studio, we can have one person who's dedicated to doing the headshots for this company, who is oftentimes the same person that's on site, but it's not always. So of course, we've had to come up with systems for how do we know who the corporate person is, what is their look, who gets the pictures, who pays for the pictures, or is the client themselves allowed to have the pictures? Because believe it or not, like in the title company in particular, they do not want you, if you got a picture at title company number 1, you cannot bring it to title company number 2, because they want title company number 2 to have to pay for you to get a new picture, because how dare you come take our people. And I have literally, like, one client, I've done her from 4 different or 5 different companies. I'm like, oh, which company are you with now? Let's see. Oh, you get a white background. Oh, you should be wearing blue. Let's see. Let's check the specs and know what we need to do. Okay. So that was the question, was how much? It's about half and half. Lower dollars, higher volume, higher dollars, lower volume, but it all adds up to being able to hit the $1 million mark or more. So if each individual photographer can easily do about $400,000 a year, pretty much just taking all the vacation time, every time there's a holiday, we close down, all that kind of stuff. So that's why there's 3 key parts of the business, which is the studio photographer, the on-site photographer, and then the corporate account people. And then anytime that I shoot, I also keep that as a separate line item so that we can get to that 1.6 eventually. All right, so I've been talking instead of answering questions. So let me look and see what questions I'm supposed to answer. And Gretchen is going to tell me what I should look at next.
So we can also take additional questions.
So yeah, so why don't we, before we move on to Cameron's questions, why don't we see if Hannah has any follow-up questions or like more information on that? Uh-oh, did you just eat something? Of course you did. That's why I called on you. Okay.
I had like one little bite left the whole call, and I was like, I'll just have it right now. We're in northern Michigan, and I somehow forgot to bring a winter coat, so that's why I'm so bundled up. Anyway, questions. So do you have one photographer who would specifically do the on-site shoots and somebody else who's shooting in studio, or do they just figure that out themselves?
Yes, I do try to keep them separate because of schedule. So I don't want to have somebody booked in the studio that is supposed to do the on-site, and then all of a sudden they can't go do an on-site or be available for an on-site because they've got to do the studio work. And there's a routine that happens with the on-site so that, you keep somebody who already knows what they're doing all the time. They get asked to come back again and again. So I do try to keep one photographer with one company if it's at all possible, or at least one photographer in charge of a department, so that we don't all like, who did you do that? I don't know. Did I do that? Who shot that one? Who's supposed to edit that one? Who's doing that? So that's kind of how we've kept it that way. And then the nice part is I do have a couple of teams that I've trained over the years that if something were to happen to the photographer that's assigned for that day, or if I could not fill in, then I've got somebody else who literally can just on the fly come on over and take care of it. That is also one of the selling points that I tell Lisa in marketing. And I do have a comparison sheet that I'm guessing Gretchen is also going to make available, to try to let her use. I know that she has to make the comparisons for 3 people. So let her see all the points that we offer so that when she compares them to the other and they don't have a brick and mortar studio that somebody can come to, and oh, they don't have a backup team in case somebody gets sick, and oh, they don't have insurance that can be provided directly for their, whether they can or can't. It's like Crest toothpaste has fluoride, but they all have fluoride, but Crest advertised it, so everybody thinks they're the only ones with it. So I kind of do the same thing with all the ways that Korey Howell Photography is superior to Joe Schmo with a camera that you met, lives down the street, somebody's neighbor, that I've got a good camera, I can do it, kind of a thing.
And then the backup team, I know on your site, you mentioned the 2 photographers who are under you. Is the backup team somebody entirely different?
Yes, exactly. So there's actually,
and it's just like another photographer you built a relationship with. And
exactly, but they've all worked with me or trained with me and know how to do it my way. Mm-hmm. So I've either mentored them or trained them or taught them or what have you. So I don't mind if they just step right in and fill in for me at the last minute. And the nice part is whoever, we do an introduction email anyway that says meet your photographer ahead of time. We do that, number 1, so they know it's not going to be me. They can't say, oh, I thought I would know. I introduce you to your photographer. 2, Michael is one of my key on-site photographers, and he's deaf, and he will never tell anybody he's deaf. So he reads cues. He watches your face. He can totally lip read and everything. But I want people to know that I'm willing to say deaf and fluent in ASL. Michael has been with me for blah, 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 just to put it out there so that they have an understanding of why you couldn't tell him something when he wasn't looking at you. I wouldn't, he's so great at it. One may not really recognize it and then think his behavior is weird. So I do that. And then the same thing with Olympia, because why not? Just here's, again, it's not me. There was one time early on when I was training Olympia, this is like 10, 12 years ago. And I had told this customer, it's not going to be me. It's not going to be me. It's not going to be me. There were 24 back and forth emails between my person and her person saying it's not going to be me. And all of a sudden they get there and I get a phone call and she's like, how come you're not here? I'm like, oh my God, you go back and look at the 24 emails that your girl told you. So anytime there is somebody who's special is expecting me, I really, really, really don't want our first thing to be, wait, we were expecting Korey. So I make it sure that never expect me. If you get me, surprise, but never expect me. Okay, anything else from you before we move on to Cameron's questions and then anybody else's?
I think that's good. I might think of more later, but yeah.
Segue into Cameron's
That's
question.
A perfect segue into Cameron's question about bringing on an associate photographer. Now, I can't tell you that there's a right way to do it, a wrong way to do it. All I can do is share with you the experiences that I've had and the things that were great and the things that weren't. So I knew that I couldn't do it alone anymore. So the first thing that I did that, and again, you've got to decide what you want to have somebody else do. So if you bring on another photographer and they're doing photography work, then you still need to have the support to make sure that they know where they're supposed to go and when they're supposed to get there and what's expected of you. So we started everybody with nothing more than retouching. Like that's it. You got to start with retouching, and you don't get to stop retouching until I think that you've seen enough of the images, you get them exactly the way we want them, you understand the coloring that we want, the cropping, and that it just becomes second nature to you so that you know how to recognize what looks like a Korey Howell Photography branded image. So started out with retouching. This was great because it's a low barrier to entry of bringing somebody in to find out who really shows up. So the person you interview is not the person that actually shows up at the job, is usually what happens. So, they're on their best behavior, whatever. So before you've invested a lot of time and energy and effort into somebody, make sure they show up on time. They're, well, it's, I don't know what your drug policies are. If they're high all the time, whatever, you kind of want to feel them out a little bit before you put them out there as your associate photographer. And then you need to decide if you want them to shoot the same or different than you. So for example, I just want everybody to shoot what I shoot, but then they also shoot more than I shoot. So while yes, I can shoot a family, I don't wish to. So I love bringing on somebody who can do what I do plus what they do. So, so the first thing is vet them. So I guess hire slowly, fire quickly. See who really shows up to the position, give them something low level to do first, and see how it works with your personalities and vibes, and give it a chance for who that real person is to show up to determine if it's going to be the right vibe. At the same time that I hired Olympia right out of photography school, I also hired another girl whose name is, let me see, I need to make up a name. I need to make up a name. Okay, hold on. We'll call her Marie. Is there somebody here named Marie? Hannah Marie, that's why it's on my mind. Okay, there. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna call her Marie. Okay. She was in art school with Olympia and was always in her shadow. And I think it transferred when she came here too. So the thing about her was she didn't have the confidence to lead a photo session, to work with executives, to work with somebody she perceived as, higher on the power play than her. And that really, so we knew that didn't work out. So even though I hired them both at the same time, the one wasn't a good fit. But when I let her go, I wasn't planning on letting her go that day particularly, but we had some time alone and we talked about it. And I'm like, are you happy here? Are you happy here? What's happened? And really, she loves doing weddings. And every time she had to do a boring corporate headshot, it was killing her. So it really turned out that we weren't a perfect fit for each other. And now she's killing it as a wedding photographer. And she learned so much, like we write thank you notes and this kind of stuff. And, if you're not going to give a percentage of the shoot, you give a gift card, something. So I still get little notes from her and, little things. So it turned out it was, she had good skills. They just weren't right for me and what I needed. So the key is, again, hire slowly, fire quickly. The minute you know you need to let somebody go, let them go. Don't think it's going to work out, or if I just did this, or if I just did, I've not found that to be the case. It doesn't actually work better. And then making sure that their style and how they treat people is the same, I think is what's important there. So if you decide, yes, okay, this person does fit, then you need to determine if you are bringing them on as an employee or as a contractor. And I'm still going to suggest contractor for as long as you can, and follow all of the rules of tax that your CPA tells you of when somebody is an employee and when somebody is a contractor. Because you don't want to look like you are controlling their schedule and they have to use your equipment and they can only shoot your clients, and then that's an employee. But if it's a contractor who, even if you want them to use your equipment, you can rent it to them. Like, just make sure that you follow along everything officially, so that you don't ever find yourself having paid a contractor and then the IRS comes back and says, oh no, that was really an employee, and now you've also got to pay us. So then you paid twice. Okay, so the goal would be you bring somebody on when you have more work than you can take. So are you at that place where you have enough and you're ready to share it with somebody else so that you can also have more? Cameron, did you want to chime in on that one?
Yeah, last year it was a pretty busy year for me, and just with like little kids and everything like that. This year I was trying to kind of slow down my schedule, make it a little bit more open. And just I've seen some really talented younger photographers coming up, and I know I read some of the story with how you connected with Olympia and you were just like, don't shoot another session before you talk to me. I saw
Correct.
that post.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm ready to do that, to kind of split the load a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
And kind of thinking long term, I guess, I could probably handle it myself right now, but trying to think like in the next 5 years, I don't want to be shooting all the time. So
yeah. So do you have any candidates in mind that you would think about bringing on?
I do. And like I've had a few, but then it's people that have, understandably a regular job, a 9 to 5. So then they're like, yeah, I'm available on nights and weekends, and I don't work nights and weekends. So that doesn't work. The person that I have right now, she just moved to my city. She's not really trying to go full force back into her branding business. She doesn't really want to do all of the paperwork and, marketing and all. So it's like all these perfect things that are aligning, but she's also getting to a point where she may have to get a regular job for health insurance purposes and things like that. So I'm like, how do I get her in when I can't really guarantee her a full-time schedule right now? That's, I guess, my pain point right now. We've talked about it. She's definitely interested in working as one of my associate photographers, and she's been assisting me on things so far to just so we can have an opportunity to work together a little bit. But that's where I'm at with her.
Do you think that if you did some sort of a not an introduction to her as your associate photographer, but if there was some sort of event that you could have to have her take a shot at it and really see how it works, so that maybe she gets excited enough to not make it your problem to get her paid, but she will figure out how to get herself paid, and that she'll take the time off from work because she sees how satisfying it is and what the results are.
Yeah, I think I can do that. I'm just opening my first studio. Should be open like March 1st. So I think that's going to really help that type of process. So being able to get her in, and she doesn't have a job yet, so she's only looking. So I have a little window to try and get in there, I think.
Yeah.
So I like that idea.
Yeah. So mistakes that I've made is being too concerned about what I need to do to get and keep that photographer to my own detriment. So don't promise her the world. Don't give her your clients at the expense of you having clients. She needs some skin in the game. So even if she found herself a job that gave her benefits and she worked on evenings and weekends for that, and then was available to you to do the other, it's the kind of person who's willing to be your partner without being your partner. Like never actually enter into a partnership agreement, but that somebody who cares about it as much as you do, wants to be there as much as you do, is willing to do as good a job and do whatever it takes. But they can't do that and everything it takes to run their own business. That's why they want to be an associate with you. So you can say, hey, I can take this pressure off of you. I can offer this, but she has to put, pay your deductible, and then the insurance kicks in.
So do your associate photographers, do they go out and get their own clients too, or do they just rely on your leads, or is it kind of a mixture of both?
I only rely on my leads, which has always been good news and bad news. So here's why it's good news. If they wanted to go out there and get leads of their own, they would have already been doing it. They would want to come in here, take my business, see what I'm doing, and be like, oh, I'm going to make out of here with all her stuff and all of her people. So what has been important or been great was that I've hired people who don't want to do it alone and want to just shoot. I just want to shoot. Great. Because I don't want to shoot. I just want to put people in front of you to shoot. So we're perfect. It's symbiotic that way. Because I'm the kind of person that when I first saw, this kind of work, I was like, oh, I'm all about this. I'm doing this for the rest of my life. Versus somebody else who also says that, then they're going to figure out how to do it without you. So having complementary personalities and complementary job descriptions of who does what is very helpful, so that somebody doesn't take your business, but also you can do what you do and shine and let them shine as well.
So as contractors, are you like, do you tell them, I mean, are there some stipulations like they can't do the same type of work on their own? Or do some of them still have their own brand photography business and are working for you at the same
Yes,
time?
I've never stopped anybody from doing it on their own. I want them to do it. But what I find is that once they started doing all the contracting for me, they rarely ever had any other side jobs that they were doing. It does happen and I'm fine with it. But when they're working under my brand, obviously they can't promote the other.
Right.
And I think the reason why I've never wanted to stop anybody is because typically if they were going to be like, I'm the headshot queen, like the headshots and branding queen, that's what I'm known for. That's what everybody, if you look it up, that's all I ever advertise. I do the other types of sessions only for people who are already in my network, and that I do by invitation. That means I want to shoot you, so I'm inviting you to a photo shoot. Repeat clients who go often or deep, and then their personal referrals where they don't want to take a chance of it not being me, you know, because they love me. So for example, there's a client who I was doing the headshots for her company and she was a CEO. She hired a different CEO. That CEO had me, we did branding pictures at the company. Then she requested me to shoot her for the magazine, a cover magazine, a shoot. So I shot her for that. Then she says to me, hey, can you come do my executives? Sure. Can you come the next day while we're doing the executives and do team pictures because we didn't leave enough time for that? Sure. Can we do your family? You bet. So with this one client, I'm deep with her. She doesn't want to be handed off to somebody else now. Other clients have never even met me. They've already been with my associates only. So that's how it's harder for them to bring work to me, because I'm always having work for them. And if they do it, they just do it on their own because they know I've got enough for them.
Okay. And do you get a lot of pushback? Because I've been the only person like in my business doing everything. So I'm pretty deep in with a lot of my clients that are repeat clients. Do you get pushback from new people, like expecting to work with you because they've been following you?
No, because again, every time I am having a conversation with people, we definitely make it very clear if you're going to be shooting with me or not shooting with me. And then sometimes you just surprise, you get me because somebody's off and I just pop in. But it did take a little bit of time at first. That same lady who I always told you about, who had the 24 emails back and forth saying it wasn't going to be me. So I picked up the phone, I called her, and her actual name is Mary. I'm going to use her actual name because I remembered it's Mary. And I said, hey, Mary, it's I won't be done here until like 3:00. I could probably get down there by 4:30 if I fought traffic. Do you need me to come down there to push the button? And she says, she's like, okay, I get that you're calling me. I get it. Ha ha ha. And I've seen the work that Olympia is doing. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. No, you don't need to come down here. It was a gut reaction. And now that my person has showed me the 24 times that it wasn't going to be you and I wasn't paying attention, it's fine. And now anytime Mary's company needs anything, it's automatically Olympia. So some of that does happen where, you know, and I remember, if you remember the thing I said, when you start scaling, you're going to get your feelings hurt because at some point they're going to want your other person and not you. And that does happen. So, but that's also the good news too. You're like, yes, it doesn't have to be me. I do see a question here. Can I just pull a question? Does each photographer—
I had a question just specifically about that.
Yeah.
If a company does insist for you on a team day, like, would you charge more for your team time than the other people's, like than your associates' time?
Yes, we call it the diva fee. If you must have the diva, then you're going to pay.
Yeah.
For example, we recently did one, long-term clients who were going to stop using us actually when I lived in Hawaii for that year, and it was just my team, because there was too much inconsistency that I was not staying on top of, and that was my bad. I get that. But when I saw that the quote had been sitting there for a while, and I just picked up the phone and called them and said, why aren't you signing this contract? She said, because it's not going to be you. I said, are you going to sign it if it's me? She said, absolutely. I said, okay, sign it. And she'd originally scheduled it for the 18th of January, which was already nervous because I would have been just coming back from Megan's deal. And I'm like, okay, like we thought about driving, but no, we got to fly to be here. But then they changed it to the 25th, and that happens to be my birthday. So I said, absolutely, you get me. But now that you're doing it on the 25th, now there's going to be some some things on my rider. I'm going to need a red velvet cupcake. And when we get everybody together as a group, everybody needs to sing happy birthday to me. And don't you know, they had a 4 cupcakes, they had a balloon, they had a bottle of Prosecco. And when everybody got together to sing happy birthday, it was amazing. So yes, put on your little diva fee if you want them, because either one, they're not going to want to pay it. And they're like, see, it's fine. She was fine. Or enjoy it. And there's a real satisfaction in that for me, of knowing that this client waited and wanted and celebrated. And I recognize people that I shot before too. So handing it over to somebody else is great, but also we all got in this business for a reason, and you don't want to work yourself out of all the parts that are good too.
I guess like the question, do you, oh, sorry, for the diva fee, is that actually what it says on the contract? Like you're paying them the diva fee of this amount?
Yes.
And what's the amount?
It depends on how much of a diva I wish to be for that day, what they're keeping me from, how good of clients they are, but anywhere from $1,250 to $1,500.
Okay. Thanks.
And they don't usually seem to have a problem with it because it's not that big of a add-on to it. Does each photographer edit their own work? Yes and no. When we have outside photographers shoot, then I just say, give us the disc, let us do it, so that we use all of our own color, we do it in our time. We're not worried about how long it's going to take them to do it. No. Whoever's been working on that account, obviously I want them to do it so things match. But mostly whoever is a photographer does edit their own work, so long as they're working under my brand, or they're one of my employees or one of my associates. Or we will send them off to Retouch Up or some other place to do the heavy lifting, and then we just view them. But since we've discovered Evoto, I haven't sent anything to Retouch Up. And Evoto, I think, turns out to be 49 cents an image versus $2.50 or $5 an image with Retouch Up. So I'm now learning how to even to use AI to my advantage. And I'm not afraid of it. Bring it on, make my job easier. Okay, so was there another question you want to answer? Sure. Or do we need to?
You said it's ePhoto. Is that similar to like Imagine?
Evoto, EVOTO.
Oh.
I don't know about Imagine, but I'm gonna look into that one. Evoto was just the first one that was marketing to me everywhere that I was, and it's like it's great for not only doing everything, but it batches everything. So for example, at that one company, there were 30 people that we shot that day. I first took all the men and I put them into Evoto, used one of their headshot presets to do all the men, and told them to remove stray hairs, whiten teeth, do the clothing, de-wrinkle. And I always do the double chins, just, and then maybe remove shine is all we wanted to do for the men. Then I put all the women in there and did all of it: hair, teeth, gorgeous, beautiful, zhuzh, zhuzh, zhuzh. And then I was able to apply those to the batches, and it just batched them all out for me. So you know how in the past, like in Photoshop, you can apply things to multiple pictures, but let's say that you did something under the eye right here. You can't apply it to another picture because their eye might have been over here and then it was done here. So the amount of time that we are spending on retouching is just going down, 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 down. So it does make it easier for everybody to do their own, or I want it under one roof so that it's not being sent to the client willy-nilly. Okay.
So there was the question about, you said if you don't give a percentage of the shoot, then a gift card. Can you explain that?
Yes. So like a referral fee. So if, for example, this Marie, we called her, one of the clients that she shot as headshots asked for her to do the wedding. So she knew that client was acquired under my brand. So then she sent me 15% of the shoot, that whatever she charged them for the wedding. So if it's not a big enough thing like that, like sometimes, if it's a short, little, small, like I'll send somebody a Starbucks gift card, or, just something to say thank you. And I find that they'll do that for me as well. But you could set it up ahead of time. Either you're paying them or they're paying you, one way or the other. What am I?
Next
I'm gonna
question
have
is that
yeah. I want
deposits.
Yeah. Oh, on team composites, what is the question? Do I charge for them? How do I do it?
How do you charge for them?
Okay, I built it in originally into the cost of the headshot. So for example, if we're gonna do a headshot and a full body, the headshot's gonna be the $295. I'm gonna charge an additional $100 for the full body shot. And then that part of that first $100 is used in the editing to make the first group. So I'm gonna give them the first group with that $100 fee for shooting everybody, for the second time or adding it to. But when people come and go, we just charge a flat fee of $65 to make a change, one in, one out. Or really, we usually just charge $65, even if they have two in, two out, whatever. It's just something where it keeps them connected to us, where they're not trying to do it themselves, but not to where they're having to make a big expense and they have to go get it cleared by somebody and it's a whole rigmarole. I've done the same thing too with going back and charging some sort of a fee, not for composites, but if somebody wanted to update and make background changes to everybody, then that could be another way to keep things fresh and updated with a company that perhaps have already shot, but they're not coming in to make something new. And then also over time and space, we try to keep it as consistent as possible. But at some point, if I was shooting in JPEG 14 years ago and you haven't updated your picture and you still think you should be in this composite, you really need to come and get a new picture taken. So just enough to make it worthwhile, because it's really to our advantage to do it that way, but not so much to where it causes them to hesitate or have to, I just want it to be a no-brainer. Okay, what's my next question?
So Shelly's here and she had questions about taxes and like reducing the tax load, tax write-offs.
Yes, got you.
Things like
Okay,
that.
Shelly, are you self-employed? Are you a C Corp? Are you gonna see? She says LLC. Okay. I do not know the rules of LLC the way that I do S Corp and self-employed. So I am going to tell you for sure, yes, you need a CPA because there's who are going to take care of your tax issues for you. Also, if you have a financial advisor who helps you with like your insurance and long-term care and what works for that based on, so like if I have employees, so whatever I do for me, I have to do for them. So tax-wise, there are some things that really benefit. So for example, Olympia has a student loan. I can pay Olympia $5,250, or I can pay $5,250 a year of her student loan tax-free to me, reduction for me, and tax-free to her. So that was a benefit for both of us. Obviously the write-offs are your standard ones, your equipment, the depreciation, all of the classes that you attend, mileage, home office, although I don't suggest that you do a home office because that's one of the things that the IRS is always looking for. The issue filing as an S Corp, I just saw that come up. The reason why I love an S Corp is because I've been an S Corp for 33 years. And also my business attorney says he can stand behind anything my S Corp does, versus LLCs are still being contested and people are still figuring things out about them. So he said, maybe keep with that. But the concept of what you can do to reduce your tax burden really lays with your CPA and your particular situation. I like to find a CPA who is willing to not be all black and white, see a few shades of gray, and be willing to stand behind those shades of gray. So, I know that I could write off going to Megan's event, but I couldn't write off the clothes for it. So that's where you're like, okay, let's see what we need to do there. Also, educating yourself about your own taxes rather than letting somebody else do them is huge. It's key. So you've got to understand the basics of bookkeeping. You got to understand the basics of accounting, and then you need to know what's going on tax code in your area. So I hope that helps without just saying, talk to your tax attorney, or talk to your tax professional, but talk to your tax professional. Yes. She just hired a new CPA. Good. Okay, what other questions do we have?
So the other questions that we had submitted, those individuals are not here. So I think if anybody else had other questions that are here, then maybe we could answer those.
Yes, and I would rather answer questions of the people that are here than answer questions that you may or may not be interested in. So I see Christy's here. Did we get a question from Christy? Okay, Christy, no worries. Christy's shy. It's okay. All right. Hannah or Cameron? No more questions. That's it. That's it. This is it. No more questions. You got nothing for
I'm
you?
curious to hear what the other questions that were submitted, because sometimes I hear them and I'm like, oh, that's a good question.
Yes. Okay. Well, let me see if I can show you this. Hold on. What would be your first hire if you were in the early building phase? You guys are not, well, you're kind of in this of bringing on people. Your systems, your SOPs, write them down, know exactly what they are, have them at hand so that everybody knows them, written down. And if anything's wrong, you know, look at them constantly and always be updating them. But if it lives in your head, it's not real. It's got to be on paper. And even if you have to go back and look at that paper again to remind yourself, you know, what you did, that might be something that I have to do sometimes. Like, what are we currently charging for that? I don't know. But that's why you got to have it all written down, because that's a difference between it just being you hiring some people and it really being a business, not you. If you don't have written down systems and you can't leave your business, you don't have a business, you have a job. So you have to find ways to know when you have to be there and when you're important, but all the rest of the stuff needs to be documented and in place so that at any time anybody could just, how do you take a credit card? Let me look. But they could, so that you don't have to not have that credit card taken because you didn't put it down. Then how do you get corporate clients was one of the questions. And do either one of you plan to, or anybody here plan to want more information on how to create that as a revenue generator that somebody else is doing for you, and then you are just booking them? Like I said, you know, like half my business is that and half is the other. So if it puts another $400,000 in your pocket a year, is that something that you're interested in? Then that's when I would go after the corporate clients. So I started the corporate stuff in 2008.
I shoot corporate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
I do a
when
lot
you
of
go-
corporate. It's like split up like that too. A lot of branding and then mostly corporate probably.
Got it. Do you separate out what you do for the C-suite versus the staff and team?
Yeah, I have options. Sometimes everybody just wants the quick individual headshot, but then I always try and, you know, have more time with C-suite, or even some of the organizations, they want more time for all their employees just because they might speak or go do other things other than just be on the company website. So
So how have you
try,
been building that business?
well, I've been shooting for like 13 years, so it's just been like referrals, and I used to do weddings, and so then I would do headshots for some of those clients, and then it's just grown through word of mouth and just from continuing to shoot. So I haven't done, I should, but haven't done any like real marketing or anything, just because my calendar just, I'm able to fill it up from referrals. So
Yes.
I need to definitely do some marketing, so then I'll have more shoots for an associate photographer.
Yes.
But yeah, that's how it's been so far. I've been lucky.
Yes. Perfect. Great. All right. What's the next question?
So we could do one, there was the question about how you keep your clients coming back for more.
How do I keep my clients coming back for more? One, as long as you are staying in touch with them, they do want to use you again because you're a known factor. So as long as you're good and they liked you, they will come back. Unless of course somebody else turns their head with a free offer. You know, always, if I see anybody that is in my network and they have a picture from somebody else, I immediately, are you cheating on me? What are they giving you that I'm not giving you? Or somebody will, before I say go, I swear I wasn't cheating on you. They forced me to do this at my office. I didn't, whatever. But the corporate accounts are constantly kept in touch with so that we always know that they're there, including is it time for new pictures? Has anybody changed positions? You know, email marketing type stuff with those corporate people. But then when we are in the studio with a corporate person, we offer them the opportunity to opt in HubSpot to become marketed to for other types of photography. And then we do the same thing. So when somebody comes in for a headshot, then oftentimes I will say, you know, does your husband work for a company, or your sister, or your girl? Who else would need this too? So even if it's not a big marketing push or a big marketing campaign, just with the people that you're with, ask them, and then they will, yeah, my husband needs one right now. Like, the answer is always yes. It's never like, no, I don't know anybody else. Only me, never you. And so as long as you do a good job and stay in contact with them, I find that they will keep coming back, as long as you've got the right thing to offer them. You know, so for a headshot, they only need it every couple of years, really. So what do you do in between? And that is where the branding has been such a great godsend, of being able to, you've got your headshot, now let's do some branding. And one of the things that we have on the schedule for 2024 is updating those branding things on like certain days, where everybody who's had a branding shoot can now come get a refresh, I guess is what I'm trying to call it, at a location that we've picked. So it's almost like doing mini sessions for branding at a location that you've already decided that these people have not been to before. So they can come get in like a new refresh 10-pack of images to add to what they already had at a different location and different outfits and different times of the year. So even your existing clients are always your best clients, staying in contact with them and making sure they always have something that they need next, and know what they need next and stay ahead of it.
What do you charge for those refresh days?
So far, we've only done it twice, and because I wanted to make sure that it worked, and this is why we put it on the list for 2024. We basically just did it as a $990 fee, so just under $1,000, and you get a 10-pack of images. And then if they want to do the hair and makeup, that's separate. I don't do that for that. I don't include hair and makeup for that part.
And how long is each of their shoots?
30 minutes maybe. Because we do it, like I said, you just book your time to come into this other location that we already know and set up, and that already looks great. And then everybody gets their pictures taken there. So look at it as like a mini. All right, Miss Gretchen.
I'm redoing my studio, the interior, and I was actually thinking of doing that for all my branding people who have been in the past, to say, like, come see the new studio and get a little mini session.
Exactly. Yes. So one more quick note because I'm just going to give you this as a side thing. Also, what we're doing is, there's a lot of home builders who always want to bring realtors in, and they give away a free or a cheap thing, and then you get free and cheap realtors in there. So we've actually taken the opposite tack and say, instead of it being here, we're just going to have you come in for free so you can see our homes, I'm like, turn it into a exclusive event where you only invite the top realtors who have clients that you already know about, who are willing to have their pictures taken environmentally inside the home, where they can either be featuring, or they have to do a hashtag and feature something about the home. So, oh, here I am checking out Taylor Morrison's, whatever they are, green homes, so every sink has a whatever attachment or whatever it is. So they're there by it. So it's just some way to give a shout out to the builder, focus on something, feature it, and turn it into exclusive, instead of, here's a free headshot. Because people who are exclusive and pay a lot, you send something to them, they go, I love it. And anybody who gets something cheap or free comes back with, can you do this and this and this and this and that, because they didn't invest in it. They didn't have the skin in it. They didn't raise their hand and ask for it.
So you would have the realtors be invited, and then the realtors are paying that price? Like a price to come have that shop?
No, the builder's paying for it, but the realtors being invited exclusively, and what they have to do in exchange is they have to and put the hashtag for the builder, and if there's a hashtag for the event, and they have to do some sort of a post, either with the photo, or even better, live while they're there, and then they can get their picture taken. So like, everybody work and help each other, instead of one person getting the benefit at the expense of the others. And oftentimes it's the expense of the photographer, who's got to do a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
Maybe people are going to show up and nobody took it seriously. And then, oh, well, if she did it at that event, it couldn't have been very good.
Yeah. So then what price point would you do that for? And then how many people would you tell them to invite? Kind of the same thing, like the $990 per person? Or?
It turns out what we've done is, we would just do it as a $7,200 for a half day. And then we don't really tell them how many people they can limit it to, because they're the ones who have to figure out who to invite and how to be exclusive. So it usually turns out to be 16, 17 people, maybe. So it's not huge numbers that come through, but it isn't that much of a luxury experience for everybody who comes in where they're taking hours to get their picture taken.
And do a lot of those realtors turn into like full brand clients?
Yes.
Or you just market to them afterwards, I'm assuming?
Yes. I mean, especially when they've seen what they look like inside a house now. So I'm like, this is your face in your space. So instead of it just being on a billboard or on a white background or some boring nonsense, actually associating this is, and so sometimes you have to find them. Even realtors will want to shoot inside a home that has to be in their same price point of what they normally sell, or just a little better. Because then if they usually sell to Main Street and they're in a Wall Street environment, then it doesn't connect, and vice versa. So getting them into the price range of the people that they serve, and that gives you a great range of the different types of realtors that you get to work for as well. All right, so I know we only have a few more minutes left because Gretchen's over here going, so she's going to tell me what I'm supposed to do and say next. Go on, Gretchen.
Just that we will load this recording onto the Lens Society. So if you didn't join Lens Society, please do, because we will start doing more sessions there. That's where we're going to load our resources and all of that good stuff.
Can I just say what Lens Society stands for and how I got there?
Please.
Okay. I have done a lot of mentoring coaching. I've even won an award from the Small Business Administration for fostering 20 or 60 women-owned businesses in 1 year. So I've been doing this my whole career, forever and ever. When I've done it in the past with photographers only, because I've done this for everybody, I've called it through the lens, and L being learn, earn, network, and serve, and be of service. So all of the campaigns that I do, you see a lot of these 40 over 40, whatever. I always associate it with a opportunity to give back to a charity. So our most popular ones are Go Red for women, because it's women, and breast cancer, obviously, because that affects women. But we do it for pets. And our new one that we have coming up that we're super excited about is for Habitat for Humanity. So the people that are getting involved isn't just for themselves, they're doing it for a bigger purpose. We usually do some sort of advertising campaign in one of the magazines, and we call it Get Caught Being Generous. So all of these people who are, when you're doing photography for just a woman feeling good about herself over 40, that's awesome. And imagine if you were doing that to also teach her about that heart disease is the #1 killer of women, and now she's just influenced her circle of people as well. So that's how I like to, add in that service component as well. And that's the Lens Society.
Awesome. Well,
Okay.
that is it for today. Thank you guys for showing up.
Yes, thank you. And if there's any other questions in here, I know that there were still some things coming up. I'm sure Gretchen will have me figure out how to answer all those and do all that kind of stuff. And this is exactly why I know what I do best. This is what she does best. Let her do what she does best. I'll do what I do best. And hopefully we can all stay connected and keep growing and learning together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Korey.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.